Lil Jeff was feared in the streets long before he picked up a mic. His name rang bells, not just in Chicago, but across state lines, with bodies allegedly tied to his name. But on that fateful day, the hunter became the hunted. Gunshots echoed, bodies dropped, and within moments, the drill scene lost one of its most ruthless figures. Was it a setup, revenge, or did Jeff's past finally catch up to him? The truth is darker than you think, and when the details surfaced, nobody saw it coming. Lil Jeff's last 24 hours alive. On June 8, 2024, Lil Jeff was moving like he was untouchable. A certified stepper in the streets of Chicago, he had built his rep off drill music and real-life action, proving time and time again that he wasn't just rapping. But in the streets, no one is invincible. That morning, Jeff and his Bloodhounds crew were already plotting. The tension in the city was at an all-time high, and word was that one of their biggest ops had been spotted on South Rhodes Avenue, a block Jeff and his crew had spun on before. The way he saw it, this was another opportunity to make a statement. Jeff wasn't just another rapper talking tough on tracks. He had built a name off the exact kind of action he rapped about, hopping out of cars, chasing down his enemies, and sending warning shots with no hesitation. Surveillance footage later revealed how it all went down. A dark-colored car crept onto South Rhodes. Jeff, Q50, and another man were inside, masked up and ready for war. The moment they spotted their target, a man wearing bright yellow shorts, there was no hesitation. The car door swung open and Jeff jumped out first, Glock in hand, already letting shots fly. The target scrambled for cover, diving behind a parked car before bolting toward a house. Jeff was on him instantly, chasing him up the steps while squeezing off rounds. This was textbook drill tactics, pressing an op into his own home, forcing him to cower inside. But Jeff wasn't the only one with a gun that day. Just as he reached the top step, shots rang out from inside the house. Someone was waiting, and they weren't about to let Jeff make it inside alive. In an instant, Jeff's body jerked backward as bullets ripped through him, sending him crashing back down the porch steps. Jeff hit the pavement hard, motionless for a split second. Then more shots followed. From the porch, from across the street, from Jeff's own crew, bullets flew in every direction. Reports later suggested that at least 50 rounds were exchanged in total. Q50, seeing his right-hand man down, let shots off wildly in retaliation. Another camera angle caught him firing at a passing car, possibly thinking it was connected to the ambush. The heat of the moment had turned a calculated hit into an all-out war zone. Realizing Jeff wasn't getting up, the getaway driver stepped out to check on him. But by then, it was clear. Jeff wasn't going to make it. That's when things got even crazier. With sirens closing in, the Bloodhounds had a decision to make: leave Jeff or risk everything to save him. In a shocking turn, Q50 and another man were seen on leaked footage carrying Jeff's lifeless body into a vehicle and speeding off toward the hospital. By the time they got him there, it was too late. Jeff had been hit 19 times, his body riddled with bullets. And just like that, one of the most feared names in Chicago's drill scene was gone. In the hours that followed, social media exploded with reactions. Twitter lit up with reports of a shooting on South Rhodes. Police scanner audio described a chaotic crime scene, multiple gunshot victims, and self-transports arriving at hospitals across the city. Lil Jeff's burial. The day after Lil Jeff's death, the city was still buzzing with the news. His name was trending on social media, and the streets were talking. Some were mourning, others were making plans, and a few were just waiting to see what would happen next. For Jeff's family, it was a moment of heartbreak. June 9, 2024, was a day of reflection. Jeffrey Harris Sr., Jeff's father, turned to social media to share throwback photos of his son with his half-brothers. His caption was raw and unfiltered. The world. It was the unrelenting grief of a father laid bare. Meanwhile, Q50, Jeff's kindred spirit, promised to keep pushing forward. "My brother's gone, but I'm done crying," he said. "I'm going to do exactly what Jeff told me to do." Jeff's closest friends stared at old pictures, shook their heads, and tried to come to terms with the fact that their boy, who had been untouchable in their eyes, was now just another name in the history of Chicago's drill scene. It was surreal. Vert, another Bloodhound affiliate, appeared in a DJU interview, visibly intoxicated, slurring his words while talking about Jeff's death. He didn't say much, just that life moves forward and Jeff would live on through them. But to those who knew, that was just another way of saying the war wasn't over. A vigil and balloon release followed soon after, where people gathered to remember Jeff. Red balloons filled the sky as the crowd paid their respects. But even in mourning, the tension in the air was thick. Just a day later, on June 10th, a Bloodhound member made a bold claim. Even the ops had to salute Jeff for the work he put in. But that wasn't all. He hinted that retaliation was on the way. Jeff's father then hopped on Facebook with a message that had people shaking their heads. "Let it be known, y'all didn't get him. He came trying to get y'all, and what happened, happened. But the saga continues." That post alone had the internet talking. Some couldn't believe a father was speaking about his son like a fallen soldier. Others said it just proved that Jeff never had a chance. He was raised in this life, and this was the only way it could have ended. By June 18th, 2024, the cycle continued. A Bloodhound member claimed responsibility for retaliation. The message was clear. Jeff's death wasn't going unanswered. Then, just 4 days later, on June 22nd, Lil Jeff's funeral took place. Images started circulating almost immediately. Flower arrangements, funeral programs, and even pictures of Jeff in his casket began making rounds online. Some people shared buttons from the service that read The Reaper, a name that felt fitting given the life Jeff had lived. His girlfriend Peyton made her tribute in a small but symbolic way, dropping the Y in front of his flower arrangement. The funeral program painted a different picture of Jeff, not the shooter, not the drill rapper, not the street legend, but the kid who once had dreams beyond the life he was caught up in. It spoke about him as a happy, intelligent child who loved basketball, music, and video games. It highlighted his deep love for family, his close relationship with his niece Jala, and the bond he shared with Peyton. The program ended with a powerful line: "Thank you for coming to his last concert." It was poetic in a way. His music had been a soundtrack to his life, and now, in his final moments, the city was watching like it was a show. But Jeff's story wasn't just going to end with a peaceful goodbye. Rumors started flying almost immediately. There was a fight at the funeral. Some said it was nothing serious, just some minor tension. Others claimed it was way deeper than that. According to some reports, the altercation involved Jeff's girlfriend and his side chick. Video clips started surfacing online, showing women shouting and pushing each other, though it was unclear exactly what sparked the drama. For some, it was just another reminder of how chaotic Jeff's life had been. Even in death, there was no peace. Meanwhile, while bloodhounds were mourning and vowing revenge, Reddit was busy doing its own detective work. Users on Cheericology, the infamous subreddit known for dissecting Chicago's drill scene and gang culture, wasted no time piecing together clues. They were convinced they had figured out who was responsible. It didn't take long before one name started trending: Trap City Rob, aka iTrap Rob. One user claimed he cracked the case just 2 days after Jeff was killed. According to him, Rob was the one who pulled the trigger from the porch that day. He backed it up with old arrest records, pointing out that Rob had been picked up multiple times at the exact same house where Jeff was shot. As soon as the theory gained traction, posts started circulating everywhere. Trap City Rob was now a wanted man, not just by the police, but by the streets. A news report about Jeff's death confirmed that the shooter was officially wanted by law enforcement, but to some people, the streets already had all the proof they needed. On June 16th, just over a week after Jeff was killed, Reddit users thought they had found Trap City Rob. A new post surfaced with an image of him wearing a shirt that looked like a direct shot at Jeff's death. This was no accident. The internet ran with it, claiming the shirt design mocked the way Jeff got sent flying down the porch steps after being shot. Whether it was intentional or not, people were convinced that Rob was sending a message. By now, Rob's name was viral across both subreddits. People dug up old pictures, old posts, and anything they could use to confirm he was Jeff's killer. And that's when things got even more complicated. As it turned out, Trap City Rob wasn't always an enemy of the Bloodhounds. Old photos surfaced, showing him standing side by side with Bloodhound members. One of the most talked about pictures featured Bloodhound Vert and another man named Trey posing with Rob. This raised questions. Had Rob been cool with the Bloodhounds at some point? How did the feud between the Bloodhounds and Trap City start? And what's at stake for both gangs? The Bloodhound versus Trap City feud. In the unforgiving streets of Chicago, alliances are fragile and betrayals come with deadly consequences. The war between the Bloodhounds and Trap City has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons, leaving behind a trail of bodies and a cycle of revenge that seems impossible to break. What started as a brotherhood between multiple sets has now turned into one of the most violent feuds in Chicago drill history, fueled by backstabbing, retaliation, and the fight for dominance in both the streets and the music scene. Years ago, the Bloodhounds, Trap City, Drill City, and other groups like 400 East, MTV 079, and Chris World stood as one under the Bloodhound 0679 alliance. This wasn't just some street-level handshake. This was an agreement built on trust, resources, and a shared mission to protect each other from enemies. Together, they ran their blocks, built reputations, and expanded their reach. But in 2023, the alliance shattered over what seemed like a minor issue, but ultimately became the first domino in a bloody war. Drill City allegedly stole a chain from a Trap City affiliate, a chain that wasn't just expensive jewelry, it was a symbol of their territory and reputation. Trap City wasn't about to let that slide. Feeling betrayed, they severed ties with the alliance and declared war. The city quickly divided, with most of the groups taking Drill City's side. Trap City found itself outnumbered but more determined than ever to prove they weren't to be played with. That's when the killings started. The first major casualty in the war was Zimoni, a Bloodhound affiliate and cousin to Lil Jeff and Q50. On March 16th, 2023, Zimoni was chilling in his car on the 1300 block of East 79th Street when Trap City members caught him lacking. The attack was ruthless. ruthless. Trap City spun the block and lit the car up, hitting Zimone 29 times. Word on the street was that someone from his own circle had dropped his location, making it easy for Trap City to move in and handle business. His death erased any chance of peace. The Bloodhounds were out for blood. Zimone's death shook Lil Jeff to the core. He wasn't just going to let it go, he needed payback. In June 2023, Jeff reportedly got his revenge, catching Leal, a respected Trap City member, slipping while he was riding in an Uber. The bullets flew, and Leal was gone before he even knew what hit him. With Leal out of the picture, the Bloodhounds made sure to let Trap City know what time it was. They dissed him in songs, vlogs, and social media posts, taunting their enemies and daring them to respond. Trap City got the message loud and clear. By January 26, 2024, things had reached a boiling point. Trap City members Monty Drench Williams and Robert Lil Rob Boston were targeted in broad daylight, and what followed was nothing short of a public execution. The killers waited for the perfect moment, and when it came, they sprayed the block, leaving Monty and Lil Rob lifeless before anyone could react. Chicago had seen plenty of shootings, but this one hit different. It was brazen, strategic, and personal. The whole city was talking about it. And it didn't take long before Lil Jeff himself started dropping hints on social media that he was behind it. His Instagram stories were cryptic but clear. He wanted everyone to know who was running the scoreboard. Then came the music. Jeff turned the double murder into lyrics with songs like Double Trouble and Street Confessions breaking down what went down that day. His reputation skyrocketed, not just in the streets, but in the drill scene too. But if Jeff thought this was the end of it, he was dead wrong. Trap City wasn't just going to sit back and take the hit. Instead of going directly after Lil Jeff, they made an example out of one of his closest homies, Lil Squirrel. Lil Squirrel wasn't known to be in the streets like Jeff was, but in gang life, that didn't matter. If you were close to a target, you became a target. The news of Squirrel's murder hit Jeff hard. Despite his tough image, he took to social media to express his pain, calling out his enemies for killing someone who wasn't even a gang member. He posted on Instagram, "They so emotional, they kill anybody when they're mad. Stay safe, all my innocent people." This was one of the few times Jeff ever showed vulnerability. But just as quickly as he grieved, he snapped back. Lil Jeff was now on a mission. The violence wasn't slowing down. At this point, Chicago wasn't just watching a street beef. They were witnessing an all-out war. Bodies kept dropping. Both sides were spinning blocks. Diss tracks fueled the fire. Instagram stories became kill confirmation. The cycle of death and revenge seemed never ending. Lil Jeff, as the leader of the Bloodhounds, had become the ultimate walking target, and eventually his time ran out. But before he did, Jeff left multiple bodies in his wake, making himself one of the most pivotal figures in the gang feud. Lil Jeff's body's Lil Jeff. Or Bloodhound Lil Jeff wasn't just another young rapper trying to make a name for himself in the Chicago drill scene. He was a real problem in the streets. His music was only a small part of his legacy. The true story of Lil Jeff is written in the blood of his enemies. Before he became a recognized name in drill music, Jeff was feared long before he was famous. He was the type of dude who wouldn't hesitate to step on anyone who disrespected him or his set. By the time he started rapping in 2022, his reputation was already built. His first song, The Bloody Family, alongside JB Bin Laden, set the tone for his entire career. The name itself was a tribute to his gang, the Bloodhounds, a feared faction operating on the south side of Chicago. Less than a month later, Jeff dropped his first solo track, Can't Beat Us, where he doubled down on his street credentials, mocking his ops and letting everyone know that he wasn't just rapping, he was really out here catching bodies. By the end of the song, Jeff himself made it crystal clear. "I ain't no rapper, man. I'm just doing this cause y'all like seeing this." This wasn't an act. Jeff was known more for taking lives than dropping bars, and that's how he earned the nickname, the Pistol Professor. According to reports, Lil Jeff had a long list of alleged bodies attached to his name, with some sources linking him to at least 9 murders. Some of the names that have been rumored to be his victims include Rob, Monty, Leal, Gutta from Hit Squad, Slide, Clay, Boogie from 95, Baby KD. These names paint a picture of a young shooter who wasn't just defending himself. Jeff was actively hunting his ops. One of his first alleged murders happened back in September 2014 when he was just 12 years old. His target? An 18-year-old named Kamal Burton, also known as Mally Ma, who was affiliated with the H-Ray mob. This went down in the old Goo Gardens community on the far south side of Chicago. Now, the idea of a 12-year-old catching a body seems wild, but in Jeff's world, kids were trained to be shooters at an early age. In some neighborhoods, you weren't even considered a real savage until you had a body under your belt. Whether Jeff was really the shooter or not, the streets started whispering his name. And from that point forward, the rumors about his growing body count only got louder. As Jeff got older, bolder, and more reckless, his name became attached to more and more high-profile hits. One of the names linked to him was Ronnie L. Sear Jr., also known as Lil Gutta, an alleged Crew Hit Squad member. Gutta was killed in May 2021, right when Jeff and his bloodhounds were at war with multiple rival gangs. Another name connected to Jeff is Roger Lewis, also known as Black, a 33-year-old OG from the Evans mob. Black was gunned down in a drive-by in March 2022. However, this one comes with a twist. The alleged shooter was already arrested and charged, meaning Jeff may not have had anything to do with it. Still, in the streets, truth and rumors mix so much that it's hard to separate fact from fiction. By 2022, the war between the Bloodhounds and Trap City was heating up, and Jeff reportedly took several lives in retaliation for his fallen homies. One of those losses hit close to home. Jamarian Lawston, also known as JMOE, was allegedly part of the 066079 Alliance, and when he got killed, it pushed Jeff over the edge. From that moment on, he wasn't just a shooter, he was an executioner. One of the most infamous killings linked to Jeff was the death of Lil Pooh, real name Pierre Bouza Jr. Pooh was allegedly part of Flipside and had ties to Trap City. On April 9th, 2024, Jeff pretty much took credit for Pooh's murder himself. After the French Chicago drill page Squid Ape made a tribute post for Pooh on Instagram, the comment section was flooded with people laughing at his death. Someone asked, "Why y'all clowning?" And Jeff himself responded, "That dude was dissing Z Money." That was all the proof the streets needed. Jeff had put Pooh in a pack. Perhaps Jeff's most notorious alleged hit happened on June 25th, 2024, when Trap City member Leal, real name Jalil Goins, was executed in cold blood. Leal was sitting in a parked rideshare car in the Little Italy neighborhood near the University of Illinois Chicago campus. This area isn't the trenches. It's actually a gentrified, upscale part of the city, the last place you'd expect a drill-style assassination, but that's exactly what happened. At 8:55 p.m., someone walked up to the car and emptied a clip into the rear passenger window, hitting Leal multiple times before fleeing the scene. The rideshare driver panicked and sped to the hospital, but Leal was already dead before they even made it. The very next day, Jeff JB Bin Laden and Q50 dropped their remix to Coffin, a drill anthem originally by Lil YT. While the song and music video had been filmed beforehand, the timing was crazy, especially because the first thing you see in the video is Q50 holding up a picture of Z Money. Was this a coincidence? The streets didn't think so. At one point, rumors started flying that Lil Jeff wasn't just putting in work in Chicago. He was also carrying out contract killings in Milwaukee. A photo of Jeff with known Milwaukee gang members surfaced online, adding fuel to the fire. Jeff and the Bloodhounds often rapped about hitting licks across state lines, which made people believe he was involved in paid hits outside of Chicago. However, there's no solid proof, just whispers and speculation. Jeff wasn't born a monster, he was made into one. In his DJU interview, he revealed that he didn't even get into the streets until he was 18. Before that, he had a regular childhood, playing basketball and going to school. But everything changed when his big brother, Jay Boogie, introduced him to the trenches. Jeff also revealed that his family home got shot up when he was 14, with a bullet whizzing right past his face. That moment changed him forever, proving that in Chicago, you're either a predator or prey. Even more shocking, Jeff's own mother encouraged his violent lifestyle. A leaked text message allegedly shows her praising him for his murder, saying, "Go ahead, son. Your name ringing bells in the streets. Is that my boy?" She even bragged about him killing kids he used to grow up with. What made Jeff truly unsettling was his mindset toward violence. For him, killing wasn't merely a necessity, it was a thrill. In one viral video, he sat in a car casually joking about shooting someone who had fled at the sight of his gun. Lil Jeff was more than just a drill rapper. He was a real-life street legend. Some say he was a cold-blooded killer, while others argue he was just a product of his environment. Either way, his name will never be forgotten in the history of Chicago's drill scene. For more content like this, click on the videos showing on your screen now.